All right, YouTube going. Let's go here. Oh, that's not what we want. Let's turn that around. There we go. Good morning, PTI's Daily Show. My name is Brian Melrose. I'm one of the lead faculty in the orthopedic division, teaching both cervical and lumbar courses, and so to be here on a Technique Thursday to share something that I think could really improve your patient's compliance with doing what we're asking them to do in the clinic. And so it's kind of funny that we're talking about that because I think it's probably one of the hardest things that we end up doing in physical therapy. We have a great tool bag. We have a great product. I think, again, all of us kind of in this ICE community are trying to kind of elevate the profession and offer something more dynamic than just solving pain for people. But the hardest thing is getting our patients to follow through with what we're asking them to do. And so the technique I want to talk about today is something that could really improve your ability to get them to follow through with some of those things. And so that's why I've kind of titled it that we have to remove the barriers. And I'll talk about what those barriers are and what I'm talking about in a minute. We got to get a guide all the way to getting that. And those barriers are what's limiting them from doing the things that we know will really help them not just fix pain, but fix their entire lifestyle, and have longevity. And so where this really comes from is my background's in psychology. So I love psychology stuff, and I never knew how much that kind of background would help me in my current profession, which is being a physical therapist. But health psychology concepts, how to motivate people to do things that are more or less healthy for them. I have a whole background in some really cool courses with that. So when I became a physical therapist, I started playing that same game about what did I need to do to understand what my patient's goals were, but also how to motivate them to get there. And so one of the things that if you've been following ICE content for the last year or two, I know you've heard of this before, but we always talk about understanding the deeper why. People aren't coming to physical therapy to just simply solve back pain or simply solve shoulder pain. Usually they're more concerned about how that back pain or how that shoulder pain is limiting them in other areas of their life. That could be something as simple as being able to concentrate on the job. Maybe it's playing a certain number of minutes on the field if they're a collegiate athlete. It could be even picking up their grandkid. Like there's a lot of different things that motivate people, and simply understanding that they're in pain isn't enough. You have to get down to that deeper why. And so I just want to reiterate that that's always number one kind of on the docket. But after that, after you kind of understand the deeper why, and you again have a good methodical process for ruling in or out different areas in the body, and you can confidently deliver some treatment to that area, hopefully using that test retest model, it kind of building the bike for them and showing them what's working. At some point, after the tissue's rolling in the right direction, we can offer these folks much, much more. I mean, it's not, again, just about pain, but getting your patients to think differently about the way that they're sleeping, for example. That we know that changes how the nervous system kind of calibrates and how sensitive it is. It's important for every single person that walks through our doors because they're probably in pain. Sleep also is a big area where folks do all of their parasympathetic rest, digest, rehabilitation, like all of the healing qualities of the body really go when we get that parasympathetic tone. And so helping them sleep better is going to help you solve their pain. As you move forward, continuing to get them to move down that sleep pathway is going to allow them to even be able to do more. I mean, more loading, more exercise, more things that hopefully they want to do with their families, whether that's travel or playing with their kids. So intervening on something as simple as sleep can again make your product and their experience with you way bigger than just talking about pain. And so one of the other things that Zach Morgan, our spine division lead, talks about a lot is being a resource dealer. And so I think our next big step in our profession is getting our folks to kind of get more than just pain relief. We start dealing them some of these resources. We talk to them about sleep. We talk to them about diet. And we talk to them, about stress management. And as good as talking is, we know that that's not enough to really get most of our folks to the finish line. There's just too many barriers in place. Hence, that we have to remove those barriers. So if you followed me on the thought process so far, you know that you want to deliver a lot of these things to folks, but I think the problem is we just don't do enough when we deliver this. Like we have folks in clinic, we touch on these concepts, we maybe have a verbal discussion about a lot of things that could be helpful. But we know that if we took a large group of people and we simply talked to them about doing some lifestyle factors, information doesn't make change. Like you might, maybe 10% of those people have enough intrinsic motivation that they'd be willing to go and seek out some of the resources that you guys chatted about. The other 90%, I hate to say it, probably a lost cause. Like they're really going to struggle getting through the barriers, whether that's, going to the gym and signing up for a membership, whether that's, actually downloading the right podcast that you recommended from Huberman Lab, or, even going a step further and going and talking to a nutritionist, or just simply logging their food for a week. Like getting 90% of folks to just do that by simply talking to them is not enough. And so that's where I think we got to do one more thing in this process that will significantly increase the success that you have when you're trying to get your folks to not just fix pain, but fix many other things. And so that is removing some of the barriers. And those barriers are the things that hold them back. And so if we continue to talk about the example of sleep, I think the biggest thing that I've seen is a lot of folks just end up talking about like, hey, have you ever heard of Huberman Lab? Like there's a podcast. He talks a lot about sleep. Like just head there. That's going to fall flat for a lot of folks. And so what I think we have to do better as a profession is have something. I don't care if it's printed out and it's, has your company logo on it and you hand it out to patients. I prefer to send a post-visit email. I think that feels a little bit more personal. But I have a document on my desktop where all of this stuff is just listed. I mean, it's in detail, and I'm removing the barriers of them having to do the work of finding it. So, for example, if your patient just went to the Huberman Lab podcast and typed in sleep, they're going to get about 20 different episodes. Many of those are about 3 hours long. And so the first one they might see just in chronological order is going to be episode 31. 31, that is the first episode that Huberman did with Dr. Matt Walker, PhD, great guy for the sleep space as well. But they talked for 3 hours and 3 minutes. Your patient comes up on that, I highly doubt that they're going to sit there for 3 hours and absorb the level and kind of quantity of information that's there. And so you have to know that if you go to episode 84, Huberman's created a 30-minute shorter kind of toolkit for sleep that he, again, condensed a lot of that information and makes it really applicable to somebody who's just looking for brief information about what to follow. Your patient doesn't need to do that work. I hate to say it, but that's on us. Like we have to get in there. We have to remove that barrier and link the specific episode. When you send that email, you send it right to them. It's the same thing if you're talking about sleep and you want to get one of your folks oriented with one of those mattress covers that can, again, cool them to get them deeper sleep sooner in night. And then again, gradually wake them up in the morning. You have to know that the chili pad is significantly less expensive than the 8 sleep. But again, all of that stuff is already pre-formatted. You're already in that space and you understand those things. And when you're talking about folks, you know how to leverage some of that information and work that you've done on the back end so that you can, again, extrapolate that to not just one person, but every person that comes into the clinic. You're asking about sleep with everybody. And now you have a tool bag just for sleep to remove the barriers and help your folks get there. So it's more or less of a technique or a concept that, again, I'm using the example of sleep, but you could do this for anything, for getting your folks to the gym. Simply telling them to go isn't enough. Go over there with them, help them get signed up, introduce them to somebody. I know at our CrossFit gym, there's a free week. We try and go over there. If Ellie and I kind of refer a patient that way, we'll go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon and just make sure that they feel settled. Again, I'm removing the barrier of them being uncomfortable about going or knowing what to do or worrying about whether, the coach and owner Ryan understands their deficits. Like, again, remove those barriers. And the amount of success that you will end up seeing your patients have in terms of them being compliant, I think will significantly increase. Once they're actually more compliant with what you're asking them to do, their results improve. Again, we have a great product. And so they're going to get better faster. They're going to believe in you more. They're going to trust you more. They're going to like coming and seeing you more. They're going to be even more compliant. And so we kind of get out of that downward spiral and turn it into kind of an upward spiral. And again, we're not just fixing back pain when we get them on that upward spiral. We're really creating lifestyle change, which is, I think, the number one thing that makes me passionate to get in the clinic every day, but it's the gift that we can give anybody that comes in. So main point here is you got to remove some of those barriers, but I want to take it just one step further. If you'll hear me out for one more minute. You could even use those barriers to your advantage. So I got to shout out my gal, Sam Lemminger. She works with us at Onward Fort Collins. She's also a TA for spine. And this girl's ruthless, man. She doesn't just remove barriers. She puts barriers in place so that folks that she engages with can't not do what we're asking them to do. So for example, what Sam loves to do is there's a functional medicine doctor that's not in Fort Collins. She's just south in Loveland. So again, that's a barrier. Folks got to travel a little bit, right? She's expensive, but we love sending folks to this gal. She does blood panel, and she does general health metrics. It's a really nice place to send for like a light, superficial, holistic view of the medical system. She's also a high-level CrossFit athlete. She's a bit older, but I mean, she competes at regionals and semifinals. I mean, she's an incredible athlete. And so she's on brand with what we are kind of representing at the clinic. And so when folks, talk with Sam about going and seeing Dr. Rachel, she immediately says, oh, perfect. Not only am I going to remove the barrier of connecting you with her, but I'm going to position a barrier that's going to make it difficult for you not to go. So what Sam will do immediately, instead of just sending a post-visit email and linking Rachel's website, she includes Rachel in the email. She'll say, hey, Dr. Rachel, I got, so-and-so here. Susie's, been working with me for a couple months. I really think she'd benefit from your services. I'm just connecting you guys here. I'd love her to get down to see you, in the next couple weeks to check X, Y, and Z. Holy smokes. I mean, you do that, the amount of patient compliance that you're going to see increase is significant. It's a little bit of like social, pressure to follow through on it, but you're removing the barriers from the folks from doing the things that we know are really going to help. I think a lot of folks need that. They're just uncomfortable. They don't know how to navigate it. There's the expense factor. Dude, wipe all that stuff out. Make it as easy as possible for them to get there. And then if you want to be ruthless, go ahead and position a barrier so that they have a hard time leaving that. They literally have to kind of follow through. And so that's our topics for the day, man. You got to be able to remove the barriers for the vast majority of patients. And if you want to reposition some barriers, that'll be a great way to make your patients more compliant. Still always starts with this understanding that deeper why, and you are the best resource dealer in the medical profession. You have all the tools in your tool bag. You understand this conservative, holistic approach to making people feel better. Go ahead and let that stuff rip and help your patients, again, not just change pain, but change their lives. The final closing thought is I just want to tell you guys about some upcoming courses we have in the spine division. If you're looking for lumbar, you're stuck with me, not this weekend, but next weekend, September 14th, 15th. I'll be out in Salt Lake City. I love it out there. But if you guys are in that Utah region, we'd love to see you at that course. The following weekend, I'll be down in Southern California in Simi Valley, again, teaching lumbar spine. Would love to see you guys if you're in that Southern California region. If you're looking for cervical, Miller is out in I can't even read my own handwriting here. Miller's somewhere good. He's in Oklahoma, September 7th and 8th. And then the following weekend, there's just not a ton of cervical until October 5th and 6th. Miller's out in Missouri, and Zach is going to be in Madison, Wisconsin. So that's some courses coming up. I hope you guys have a great Thursday as well as an end to the week, and that you enjoyed Technique Thursday for improving some patient compliance. Have a good one, folks. Thanks.